Welcome to your average Joe Utah sports fan podcast. Welcome to your average Joe Utah sports fan podcast. I'm your host, Eric Lund. And today I'm going to talk about how the Utah Mammoth are looking polished going into the Winter Olympic break. Okay, State of Utah sports fans, let's jump into this. Going into the Winter Olympic break, Utah has an overall record of 30 wins, 23 losses, 4 overtimes, and 64 total points. This places the Mammoth squarely in the top wildcard slot in the Western Conference. Now, let's take a look at the final 3 home games for Utah. These 3 games can be summed up in special teams play. Now, looking at the Dallas Stars game, special teams play was horrendous. Both the power kill unit and the power play unit were terrible. And it ultimately did end the Utah Mammoth in that game. Now, when we look at the power play for the Utah Mammoth, it is dead last in the NHL. And it looked that way against the Stars. They had a hard time moving the puck past center ice. The Stars stopped them almost every time they tried to do it. And when they actually moved it past center ice, the Mammoth could not get set up in their offense. And when they finally did get set up in their offense, they had a hard time just getting the puck shot on the goal, which is the whole objective. Instead of shooting it on goal, they just wanted to pass it around the perimeter. They were having a challenging time getting a player set up in front of the goalie to screen the goalie. So this is all problematic on the PowerPoint. The whole idea is when you have a man advantage, you want to be taking advantage of having more players on the ice and shooting in the open lanes, and they weren't doing it. They weren't taking advantage of it. The power kill for the Dallas Stars was much better than a power play unit for Utah. On the flip side of this, the power kill unit for Utah, which is ranked 19th, versus the Dallas Stars power play, which is ranked number 2 in the NHL, it was having a hard time. They just could not hold back the power play unit for Dallas, which jumped right on top of Utah, got in there, found those open lanes, screened off Veggie, and scored those goals. Now, the penalties for Utah, they just could not be disciplined enough to stop committing these penalties. So in the first 10 minutes, Utah committed 2 back-to-back delay of game penalties. And these penalties are where you hit the puck over the boards. Now, these are ones that are a lot easier to avoid than some of the other ones in the game. So they put the Stars in a position where they could come in with the second best power play unit. And then they went ahead and scored on both of those opportunities. And Utah was behind by 2 goals early in the game. And they were in a situation where they had to play catch up early on, and the pressure was on them. And the Stars, they also put a lot of pressure on Utah as they were in Utah's defensive zone. And the Utah Mammoth had a hard time trying to get the Stars out of their defensive zone. They weren't clearing pucks. And credit to the Stars as they came to play, and they're very aggressive. And they spent a lot of time in the first period and the second period in their offensive zone. And Utah just didn't have answers for the Stars. Now, what was great for the next 2 games for the Utah Mammoth against the Vancouver Canucks and the Detroit Redwings was they completely flipped the script. So the special teams for Utah looked fantastic. It's exactly what you'd want out of your special teams. The power kill unit and the power play unit looked amazing. They completely transformed them. And it's amazing that they could do this in just a matter of days. So the power play unit looked how you want it to look. They were able to easily come across center ice. They set up their offense. They were able to get a player to screen off the goalie, and they didn't mess around. They weren't just passing it around the perimeter. They quickly found the guy who was open, and they had an open lane to the goal, and they shot it. And if there was ever a rebound, they had a player down there to go ahead and hit the puck into the goal. So that was beautiful to watch and orchestrate this in both the game against the Canucks and the game against the Red Wings. Now, the power kill unit, very similarly, they were giving both the Canucks and their Red Wings a hard time entering the puck into the zone. Their sticks were clogging up lanes. They were giving a hard time trying to set up their offense. And when they did, the teams were kind of forced to pass around the perimeter, but they weren't seeing open lanes to the goalie. And Utah was giving them fits, as they're trying to set up their player down by the goalie, they weren't allowing them to set up their player by the goalie the way they wanted them to, so they weren't able to easily screen off Veggie down in the goal. And so this is exactly how you want to see your power kill unit set itself up, so it wasn't giving up easy goals on the power play, right? This is what you want out of your power kill unit. So both these units and special teams look night and day difference from how they performed against the Dallas Stars. Then you just look at the 5-on-5. It was beautiful. Now, there hasn't been any problems with the 5-on-5. The 5-on-5 aspect of the Utah Mammoth has looked great the entire month of January, even going into this first week of February. They've been doing really well. They've been outmatching the other teams. The passing, the speed, the overall defenses look really good. So now that you're looking at the special teams aspect of this coming together, it's put the Mammoth in a really great spot as they are beating teams that are playoff caliber teams. And you're also not seeing these lapses when you're playing teams who are of lesser talent. And when I say lesser talent, I'm looking at Vancouver Canucks. That's a team that you don't want to lose to. You don't want to fall asleep and lose to a team like that. You want to go ahead and beat them. Utah Mammoth beat them, and they beat them by a lot. And so that shows that they were focused. They came in, didn't take them for granted. So they took care of their business against the Canucks. And then when the Red Wings came into town, which is a playoff caliber team, they're doing really well in the Eastern Conference. They also beat them. And what I love about the game against the Red Wings is that Detroit tried to pull what I call the Carolina surprise on Utah, where in the closing minutes, they wanted to upset them where they did an empty net and they're trying to flood the zone with players. And they're hoping for this big upset, just like what happened in Raleigh. And they couldn't pull it off because Utah learned the lessons that they should from that major collapse in Raleigh. And they learned how to take care of the team defensively the way that they should. And they were able to score on the empty net. And it was just beautiful to watch. So it's heartening to see that Utah has learned these lessons and knows how to deal with these empty netters in these pressure situations, beating a team the caliber of the Red Wings. So they look poised, they look polished. And as long as they can continue to play the way that they're playing right now, 5-on-5 aspect, special teams, continue to improve on the power play unit because, all right, so 2 games is not a big sample size, but if we continue to see improvement on the power play, if the power kill is coming back earlier in the season, October, November, and December, the power kill was looking pretty good at that point. It took a dip in January, but if we can get back to where the power kill was, if these 2 games shows us that they're getting back to where it was, then Utah should be in a really good spot. We know that they're in the number 1 wild card slot right now, but as the Winter Olympic break ends in 3 weeks' time, it's going to be a mad scramble for the rest of the season. And Utah, based on what we're seeing here, should be in a good spot moving forward if it has all these pieces together, firing on all cylinders in that mad scramble to the very end. Anyway, please let me know what you think about the Utah Mammoth going into the Winter Olympic break. Is the Mammoth in a good spot? Do you think Utah will be able to hold on to its wildcard spot coming out the winter break, moving into this last stretch? And what do you think is going to happen if the Mammoth were to get to the playoffs? Will they be poised and ready once they get to the playoffs? And how do you feel about the special teams units for the Mammoth? Are they going to keep up with how they're doing right now, or do you suspect they might sputter down the stretch? I look forward to your comments on all of these aspects of the Utah Mammoth. Thanks so much for giving me a listen. If you enjoyed this segment of Your Average Joe Utah Sports Fan podcast, please give it a like and hit the subscribe button. And I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for listening to Your Average Joe Utah Sports Fan podcast. I welcome your comments. And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit like and subscribe, as that helps grow the channel.